This is the Roots and All podcast, and I'm your host, Sarah Wilson. Join me as I talk about all aspects of gardening with some of the top horticulturists from around the world. Hello and welcome to this week's episode, where I'm joined by designer Will Tomson, whose work blends creativity with a deep commitment to biodiversity and sustainability. We chat about some of his exciting recent projects, who inspires him, his Talking Plants initiative, plus we lift the lid on the exciting new Talking Plants conference happening this September in Sheffield. As a speaker at the event and a supporter of anyone looking to do new and innovative stuff in the horticultural arena, as Will and his colleague Amy are, I'm delighted to wholeheartedly and unashamedly endorse it. Listen on to find out more.
My background is having a degree in ecology many years ago, and then I went on to do various jobs. So I worked in the arts for quite a while. I worked teaching songwriting to young people, and through that I ended up getting asked to help design a garden. And that was kind of like the first time I've ever thought about really working as a gardener or working with gardens. So I got to help put together a garden for a show called Garden in Scotland. And then that was the kind of first moment where I thought, oh yeah, this is a really cool thing to do, you know. It takes the ecology side of things, like working with plants and wildlife, and it also takes like the creative element of designing. And basically, a friend of mine told me it was like painting a picture. You know, you're getting the plants, they're like the paints, and then the landscape's your canvas. And that was like the light bulb moment for me, where I thought, oh, this is amazing. You know, I can create something on a big scale outside, and it's practical as well. You get to actually build the thing. And I've always been into like, you know, being outside as much as possible. So yeah, I carried on in that job, and then ended up taking on a whole project called Urban Green up in Glasgow, where we built green spaces with young people in the city. So there was a lot of kind of young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, people were dropping out of school, and we got to build gardens basically in different estates in Glasgow. And we got the young people to help design it and got the community involved as well. So it was it was a really amazing 3 years working on that project, and I learned a lot and got to kind of learn as I go about landscaping and how to build things and how to design as well. But coming on from that, the job was coming to an end, the funding was running out, so I decided that I really wanted to do a deeper dive into design and into plants. I was becoming obsessed with plants and just learning as much as I could every day. So I decided to go sign up for the HND course in horticulture and plantsmanship at the Botanic Gardens in Edinburgh. So I did that course, which was a 3-year course, and at the same time I worked for a garden designer called Doug in Edinburgh, who designs the ecological gardens basically and builds them as well. So I was labouring for him and learning how to build at the same time. And Doug was an amazing mentor and taught me loads. And the course at Edinburgh was amazing, you know, really hands-on, really practical. We got to have our own bit of space to grow our own plants, a lot of botanising, loads of plant idents every week. So yeah, it really kind of was an amazing time to study with all these kind of experts and just to having loads of people who are passionate about plants around as well. And following that, I ended up building and designing my own gardens for a little while before going on to getting the Triad Fellowship, which is like a year-long program. And it's 4 months in America, 4 months in Japan, and then 4 months back in the UK. And it was run by the National Trust. It was basically a project that was set up through the legacy of Hilldrop Garden. So yeah, it was 2 people were chosen each year to do that, 2 from America, 2 from Japan, and 2 from the UK. And yeah, we got to basically go abroad and work in these different gardens. And then also in the UK, we got to work at Stourhead, Mount Stewart, and in Hilldrop, and also at Bodmin. So it was a real good overview of working in public garden spaces. And that was a whole year. And I came out of that and then ended up working for Chris Beardshaw in his design studio for almost a year. And he taught me a lot about design and kind of got me up to speed with design things, working in the studio environment. And yeah, then kind of lockdown hit. So I ended up moving back to Sheffield and yeah, getting my own place, my own garden. And then lockdown, I was really kind of building a wildlife garden, creating a space I could live in, building a house, basically a small cabin. And yeah, creating this garden, which is where I've been for the last 5 years, and running my own business called Creative Cultivation, which is designing and building wildlife gardens, essentially.
So it's very obvious you love plants, which then explains, I guess, why you've launched a project called Talking Plants. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so Talking Plants. So that was basically, I think it's the 3 years now, or it's third year. And the idea came, I think, basically, I've worked in like I said, I worked in public gardens. I've done the course at Edinburgh and worked at the botanics. I really loved being around all these people that were just really passionate about plants. And, you know, when you're working the day, you're chatting about them and everything like that. And I really missed that element of being surrounded by like equally passionate people and exchanging ideas. When I came back to Sheffield and after working in a design studio, I think that when you're designing, you kind of quite often alone, you know, unless you've got a big team with you. And it was just me previously, just with Chris. So it was kind of that element. I was hoping to kind of find more people that were into plants and kind of the plant community and horticultural community up in Sheffield. And I had an idea of like, oh, it would be great to maybe start a social night where we get together. I think all the other kind of social nights or talks or whatever kind of quite often done in like on Tuesday morning, or there's Sheffield Botanics, Friends of Sheffield Botanics. They do some really great talks, but some of those are like on a Tuesday morning, which are hard to attend. And we kind of thought, I kind of had the idea of doing something a little bit different. And then I was at leaving to for Sally O'Haran in Sheffield, and Sally's obviously been a really important person in Sheffield at the university, and amazing person, always good at getting people together. So it's kind of funny that I met Amy Langron at Sally's leaving do, because we sat down and just started chatting, and it seemed that we both had the same idea that we're both working as designers. Amy works director of Hortis Collective, and we sat down and we had a chat and said, oh, well, what about starting something, you know? Why don't we just do it, you know, make a night that's kind of fun and interesting, get people together. So I had I've got a friend in Sheffield who had a pub with a cinema room in the back, and he said, oh yeah, you can just use that for free. And we got our friend Katy Merrington to do the first talk, and we thought we could do a talk, then have some social time. And then I was really keen to do a plant ident, because I really missed doing plant idents from my time at Edinburgh. So we thought, yeah, we'll do a plant ident every month, or every time we do an event. And the first one, we had really good attendance, and it was really popular, and it was really easy to organise. And then Katy Merrington got involved with me and Amy, and we made a little team, and then started putting on monthly events. And yeah, it's been brilliant. It's kind of created a community of people in Sheffield. It's been really nice to see people have attended now, working with each other and hanging out with each other and going on trips and things like that. And yeah, it's an exchange of information and ideas and creating a community as well, really.
Yeah, it's a really good thing. And what is the kind of ethos behind it, apart from obviously the social and networking element? Is there a sort of common theme when it comes to design principles or your attitude to the environment, for example?
Yeah, I think definitely we're kind of choosing people who can speak that are forward thinking, have got new ideas, thinking about gardens in an ecological way, being sensitive to how we carry out work in our industry as well. So yeah, we've had obviously we had John Little and Benny Hawksby, Daryl Moore. We've had some really great guests on, like they've come along and bringing the new ideas to our audiences basically. So it's been, we're very keen for people outside the industry as well. So we've had a guy from the Woodland Meadows Trust. He did an amazing talk about Woodland Meadows. We've had people talking about rewilding. Yeah, so we're always looking for people that are, bring us new and interesting. That's definitely with, positive impacts to the environment. In the way that we do things.
Yes, and in that vein, you've also launched a new event, which is happening in September, and I'm happy to shamelessly promote it because you've got some fantastic people attending, and me. But can you tell me a bit about that? That's a big leap from local events to this. It's essentially bringing people in from all across the UK and maybe beyond, I don't know. But, so it's a big event, and I think it's going to be on the level of importance of the Beth Chatto symposium, if I'm honest, because of the people that you've got speaking. But tell us a bit about that.
Well, thanks. That's an amazing comparison, and hopefully it ends up being like that. Yeah, so basically, I think I had the idea of, I was coming back from a symposium. I got a train to a symposium abroad in Europe, and I was spent a long time getting there, coming back. It was an amazing time. I had a good experience. I just found that I was quite frustrated that a lot of the talks, I didn't really learn that much. I quite often judge a symposium or a conference by how many notes from my notebook, and I just hadn't got that many notes. I think there was a lot of the presentations with people talking about projects and kind of just going through nice photographs, and I felt like every time everybody seems to write these things is when people are giving technical information or giving plant lists, and that's really what people want, like the meaty bits. So I thought it'd be great to organise a symposium where it's basically all like that, you know, and we're kind of cutting out the waffle, cutting out the backstory and things like that. Some talks, you know, there was a well-known plantsman there, and half of his talk was his backstory, which was really interesting. But you could read that, and then it starts to talk about plant communities and his experience with growing certain things, and that was like really interesting detail that I thought, you know, needs to be shared. And then his talk was over, you know. So yeah, the idea was basically to kind of just hone in on some certain topics and just have these specific topics. So we're going to go for the first morning of Thursday, it'll be about substrates. And then the afternoon is going to be about biodiversity. And then the next second day is going to be plants and planting. So covering design, planting design, all that kind of thing. And then the afternoon is going to be like management and maintenance of spaces. So we've got some really great speakers coming, and we're trying to just give everybody a specific area to talk about with certain questions that they're going to answer about how to do these things. So, for example, if we're talking about biodiversity, you know, what is the best plants for larval insects? Which are the things you need to grow to attract these insects, so these caterpillars into your garden? What are the size of holes you need to drill for bees? You know, all this like real technical information. When is the best time to cut back a meadow? So we're going to have like an entomologist there as well, so be able to discuss with them about the implications of, you know, chopping things back at certain times. What things are you going to destroy, for example? What habitats are you going to destroy? So yeah, looking at trying to get some of the people from outside of our industry as well in this way. So yeah, it's really, we've got to dig into detail. So we're telling people, yeah, let's cut the waffle, let's cut the backstories, you know, we can read about all that stuff. Let's focusing on the questions, and also really keen for people to talk about where they've failed as well. Because I think a lot of these symposiums and events and talks, people are showing off the best work, which is great, you know, nice to see. But people learn so much from seeing when people have failed as well, because they might be about to try something like that and then it fails, you know. So it's good to see someone else has done it and then learn from their experiences. And yeah, we're trying to get a bit of a mix of people. So we've got some really well-respected names that are very forward-thinking in the industry. Also, some more unknown names I haven't really spoke before. They're incredibly knowledgeable, got really important things to say. And then, yeah, some people from outside of our sphere, so like some entomologists as well. Hopefully, I'm just trying to track a guy down at the minute called Millipede Paul. So if he's out there, get in touch. He's a local entomologist. So we're just trying to find some more local people as well to be put on the bill.
What was that name?
Millipede Paul.
Oh, Millipede Paul. Okay. Millipede Paul, if you're listening, we need you.
Yeah. We've pretty much got the schedule set. We've asked most of the speakers if they're happy to talk about the certain things. And what we want to do as well, which is a bit different, I think, to the symposiums, we're going to release a schedule as soon as we can, as soon as it's finished. And then we want everybody that's going to come, or even if you're not coming, just to ask questions, you know. So the other thing that I found at conferences and things is when the mic gets passed around at the end, quite often, you know, somebody might get the microphone and half the questions them talking about themselves, or you might ask a bit of a daft question or something like that. And 5 minutes can quickly go over the question times, and then, you know, that's it. So we want people to actually submit questions beforehand. Then we're going to feed these to our speakers. So it's going to be a really good opportunity for people to ask questions of the speakers. So yeah, we'll vet those questions beforehand as well and make sure that they're all kind of relevant and that they're going to give information for people to take away. So the main premise is that everyone walks away with really good technical information we can put back into our practices, demystifying some of the things. Yeah, I think one of the things is in our industry, we have to cover so many different topics and so many things. Like quite often when it comes to the details of things, people will just pick up the nearest book or Google it and try and find out an answer. So things like, you know, when do you cut back a meadow? Those specific things that are related to biodiversity in the garden, practices that can really help. People just kind of go to one text or one Google search and that's their answer. And I think quite often things aren't done properly and it's at the detriment to biodiversity and to wildlife. So I think demystifying those topics will be really good to help people do things better and go away with like much more confidence to do things better as well.
Yeah, so packed full of practical information, which, like you say, is sometimes lacking. So can you give me the facts? Where is it? When is it? And importantly, how much are the tickets? Because I know sometimes these things can be pricey for people, for gardeners especially.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing it in Sheffield on the 5th and 6th of September. We've got a really beautiful venue called Victoria Hall. It's really close to the train station, centre of Sheffield. And the early bird tickets are on sale at the minute. They're £130. So we tried to really keep the ticket price as low as we could. I mean, I must admit, I think I went into organising a symposium a bit naively. And then when you start adding up all the costs, the hotels and the travel of the speakers and paying everybody, blah, 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 it soon rockets up. So we're making it as cheap as we can. And then the full price tickets will be £160. And yeah, it's going to be a full day event on the Friday, and the Saturday we're going to have a party as well on the Friday night. So that should be fun. Get everyone together, part of the spirit of talking plants. We'll have some idents as well. Yeah, that's basically the lowdown on the event itself. We'll have more details on the website as well, which we can leave a link for. And soon we'll be publishing the schedule. So yeah, like I say, I think a lot of people might look at the list of speakers and think, yeah, we've seen all those people speak before. But I just like to emphasize that it's really not going to be people just giving the talks that you've seen before, because it's much more about these specific areas. So yeah, we really want to encourage people to submit questions for those areas as well.
Yeah, well, I think where you've got that back and forth between the speakers, because, you know, sometimes you've got multiple speakers on the stage at once. And when, like you say, you're inviting the questions, I think that is going to bring up some real hidden gems, because, like you say, it's going to be real life examples and people will actually share their knowledge of how they garden and how they garden for biodiversity. And I think that's the sort of key bit that sets it apart. And I am very much looking forward to it. So going back to your sort of daily work, are you working on any projects at the moment that you're particularly excited about?
Yes, I've just finished my first sand planting job, which has been, really exciting to do. So we basically took up a big turning circle. It was just gravel and tarmac, and then we crushed full of tarmac, and we didn't take anything off the site. We didn't use any skips or any wagons. And we mounded up the tarmac, and there's a load of big boulders as well. So we made a really nice big wildlife pond with the boulders. And we've used all the piles of the rubble and the tarmac and everything. We just put sand over the top of them. And that's first experience for me using sand. It was from a local quarry. I don't think it's the right thing to use all the time, but I think in this instance, it was a good thing to use. And we planted it up in, I think it was March, April. And I went back there a couple of days ago, and it's just incredible growth. Considering we've had a drought, you know, the sand really does lock in that moisture, and things are just absolutely growing like crazy, you know, in not much time. So yeah, that's been really interesting. Another project where we took up a farmyard in front of a farmhouse, and it's no longer a farm, but we took up the farmyard, crushed all that up. We moved that to the bottom of the garden, made a low nutrient garden. We ended up getting a crusher on site. We crushed up a good amount of concrete, and that's all been seeded into. And then where the concrete was taken away, where the farmyard was taken away, we've put in 6 ponds that are all interconnected with boardwalks. So when you look at it, it looks like one big pond. There's a guy, Andre, who does water meadow gardening on Instagram. He's been amazing. He's taught me quite a bit as well about how he did his process. His garden's absolutely incredible down near North Keynes. And yeah, it was that was one of the big inspirations for this project. So when you look at the garden, it looks like one big body of water rather than separate ponds. And then this boardwalk goes over the top. And then you've got areas in between the planting for different habitat types, essentially. Some bits look like a bog, some bits look like a water meadow, and then you've got obviously the open water as well. So yeah, they're two of the big projects we've finished off recently. They've been really exciting.
They sound incredible, because you've got a natural pond in your garden, haven't you? So you've got a lot of experience with that sort of thing firsthand.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I built a natural swimming pond in my garden. And yeah, that's been amazing. That's kind of coming into its 3rd season this year. So yeah, I've been learning a lot about that. And yeah, it's been amazing. The system I used, which was David Pagan Butler's system, where he basically uses compressed air to circulate the water. Really low tech, really cheap to build the system. There's no big pumps. There's no impellers, mashing up pond, plastic pipe or anything like that. So it's very sensitive to the ecology of the water. Yeah, it's been a really great thing to have in the garden. Just the amount of life that's coming in is just incredible. I've never really seen frogs in the garden before, and then this year they're just everywhere. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was cleaning out some of the algae. Obviously, algae is a really big topic. I think that everyone that builds these pools and builds ponds are just freak out about algae all the time. And I was a bit thinking, and it's getting quite a lot of algae, and it's get the algae out all the time. And as the plants are growing, the algae is becoming less, obviously, as the nutrients get taken out by the plants. But I was taking it out about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've been a lot less strict and just leaving some in as well, because I found out that's where all the tadpoles like to hang out. And this time I was pulling it out and it was just full of baby newts, like absolutely full of newts, So I had to stop because even just pulling it out by hand, you put it on the side, you can easily crush some of the baby newts. So if I pulled that out earlier as well, I probably would have destroyed all the eggs as well. So it's just, again, it's that lesson of just being really sensitive to leaving things alone quite often, because I could have just wiped out that entire newt colony, basically. I'd never seen newts up until about 2 months ago at all in the pond. So it's amazing I just arrived and then now they're breeding. Because I do see a lot of people with these pond vacuums, a lot of these natural pools are vacuumed out and stuff like that. And I just think that's just devastating all the wildlife, basically. So there's a balance between keeping it clear for the plants to grow properly and getting rid of some of the algae. But I think also algae plays a really crucial role in the garden. It's just like having weeds in the garden, or what we now call, some people think of as weeds, some people let them grow. It's that same thing, it's a pioneering plant and it's part of the ecosystem and it's important for wildlife to live in it, basically. And I think it's the same philosophy I'm now applying to my own garden, and I have been for the last few years, really, about just letting some of the weeds grow, like just not being strict about that at all. Just partly help because I'm super busy building other people's gardens. I haven't got much time for gardening, but I do one big sweep at the start of the year and then let a lot of things just grow through. And I found it's been brilliant, because you just get such a good cover of plants. You don't have to water. It helps lock some moisture in. Things like thistles, like willow herb, ragwort, I've let all those grow. Not letting them take over, but just letting them grow and then deadheading them before the seed. And yeah, they're all like really important plants for wildlife. So I think it's good to start thinking along those lines of what we can leave and just let it be. And same when it comes to clients now, a lot of clients don't even know what a weed is, and compared to the plant that you put in the ground, they quite often say to me, "Oh, which one's the weeds, or which one's the plants?" And I think really it's that perception thing, like how do we think about it? And a lot of these gardens now that I see are really manicured, just see them as a bit like deserts. You kind of see these. It might be pollinators flying and use the flowers, but underneath the crafting bits of bare soil, and you just think, yeah, that's not really a great habitat. It's just somewhere that's looks really beautiful, but you're not going to have things breeding there. You can have things visiting and then leaving again. So if you want to create spaces for things to breed, I think to start thinking about a lot more native plants and much more kind of dense vegetation, really.
So is there anyone whose work that you're really interested in at the moment? And you can say somebody who's speaking at your conference, and nobody else is going to be offended by it if you don't choose them. So
yeah, well, I mean, there's loads of people. Yeah, I mean, I think obviously doing a conference has been a bit of a selfish thing in a way as well, because I get to choose all these people I want to get there to pick their brains and listen to as well. So obviously John and Benny, goes without saying, I think everyone cites those guys. They're just doing incredible work and so passionate. What they've done for like bringing new ideas to the table is great, and thinking about biodiversity at the forefront of everything. And obviously the work John's doing now as well, really promoting gardeners as being so important. I think that's amazing, because gardeners are the people who are going to look after the spaces and direct it in the right way. I always think as a designer, you're kind of handing over the garden to somebody. It's like giving somebody a bit of sourdough. You don't know what kind of loaf's it's going to end up like, and everyone's going to do it differently. So you're giving a start to somebody, then they're going to make it into what it ends up being. So gardeners, the integral persons to make that journey happen. But yeah, we've got Peter Corn coming as well. So Peter's obviously the sand guy, but he's got so much knowledge as well about, he's been doing it for so long, building gardens for so long, big public spaces, doing things on big scales. I love the way he designs, he doesn't mess about drawing loads of design, he just kind of cracks on with it, and really good with his plants as well. So, and really good at growing plants. We've got Tracy McHugh come in. Tracy's been an incredible mentor to me ever since I started out in gardening and designing. And then Tracy's just, I mean, she won't mind me saying this, but she's a total nerd. She's a total plant nerd as well. So me and her love to geek out about plants, and her knowledge is phenomenal. And she's never talked anything before. So I think it's going to be really nice to give her a platform to talk about her approaches to planting design. I can't say everybody on the list, but yeah, I mean, everyone that we've got, I'm really excited about. We've also got Chris Baines, who's obviously wrote the original wildlife gardening book. So I'm super excited to have Chris there and pick his brains as well about what he's found has worked over the years, because he's got such a vast amount of experience of doing this now, and being an advisor to the government, a conservation advisor as well. He's got so much experience. Yeah, so everyone that's on the list, I'm excited about, basically. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So where can people get tickets if they're interested?
So for getting tickets, if you go to, we've got an Instagram, which is Talking Plants Chef. If you go to Instagram, there's a link to the Eventbrite page on there. And we've also got a website, which is talkingplantssheffield.co.uk. And we'll be posting things on there, such as like the schedule, which as soon as we've completed that, we'll get that on there. And we're going to put information about transport on there as well, hotels, places to stay. Oh yeah, the other thing we should say, obviously, Sheffield have got the Great Screen scheme as well. So there's going to be opportunities walking around that. And we're going to provide information about the Great Screen stuff as well, so people can do a self-guided tour. And there's going to be people, we're going to have Owen Heyman at the symposium as well. Owen works on the Great Screen, so he's going to be speaking as well, which will be really exciting. Owen's got a wealth of information about all the things that are going on in Sheffield. He works for Green States. So yeah, any other information people need, they can just get in touch with us, myself or Amy, through the Talking Plants Instagram page is probably the best way, I would say.
Many thanks to Will, and thanks to you for listening. I really hope I can meet some of you at the event in September. And if you liked today's episode, you might also want to check out episode 222, Nature from the Rubble, and episode 239, Growing Biodiversity with Benny Hawksby. You can download or listen to the podcast direct from the website rootsandall.co.uk. Please also check out my Patreon, where you can make a one-off donation or take out a monthly subscription to help support the podcast. Because if you enjoy the show, please help it continue. I also have a GoFundMe where you can make a one-off donation. Even a one-off donation of £1 helps, and I'll be really grateful for your support. So please go to Patreon or GoFundMe and search for Roots and All Podcast.